All right. Are we ready to get started? So this is meant to be an interactive session. And I have watched, presented, and participated in so many webinars. And I've also watched other virtual roundtables. And there is, I gotta go cut off my, and usually these webinars are just a bunch of talking heads, and we're just talking to people out there, and we don't know if you're engaged or not. So this is going to be different if you haven't figured it out by my intro. And I'm going to get you engaged. And first thing I want to do is make sure that you know how to use the controls that are in Zoom. So I see that you all have put in the chat, you've put your name. First thing I want to do is make sure that when you are chatting, at the bottom, there's a way that you can either just chat to the panelists, but we don't want you to just chat with the panelists. We want you to chat to the panelists and all attendees so everybody can see what everyone is saying, okay? And then also there should be an ability for you to raise your hand if you have a question. So I have developed a series of different ways that we can interact because we want you to get the most out of this roundtable, okay? So what I'd first like to do is thank my panelists that are here. Make sure all the panelists is unmuted. And we have, first I'll introduce Jill. Jill is with Uniland Development Company. Jill, can you go ahead and share with the attendees more about yourself?
Sure, thank you, ARBA, and good evening, everybody. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for Uniland Development Company. I am responsible for the marketing strategy for the company, the day-to-day operations, with a heavy focus on digital marketing, branding, communications, and lead generation.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. And next we'll have Colleen you can say your name correctly. I don't want to butcher it. But Colleen with Peak Marketing Communications.
It's Colleen Cardarella. Thank you, ARBA, and thank you for having me tonight. I am a digital marketer focused in email marketing. I started out in consumer products, but as e-commerce grew, I went and worked for a company with a whole family of brands and managed their team that did all areas of their online marketing. But after a while, I wanted to, like many of you, start my own business. So I started a business focused on how to help people market their products online. And I've really narrowed that in on focusing on email strategy and email campaigns.
Awesome. Thank you, Colleen. And then we have Gary Friedman.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the dinosaur of the group. I started marketing back my undergraduate degree at Canisius College in marketing and management back in 1989. I had my own retail store for 17 years. I grew up with a father who was a borax retailer from day one, so I learned at his knee. But unfortunately, what we learned in the 80s doesn't help you a lot today. You've got experts on here on digital marketing. I have my own website now. I am an author. I've written 4 books. And so I've had to learn marketing from a whole new perspective starting out just over the last 5 years. And it's like starting all over again. But marketing is still marketing and the principles are still the same. So looking forward to talking to you all tonight.
Exactly. And on that note, I came up with like 4 really key marketing objectives. And that's what we're going to encompass in answering our questions tonight. Marketing is to help you to obtain new or more customers, then get your customers to buy more frequently, and get your customers to spend more per transaction, and then finally keep your customers longer. That's just a really high level look at marketing. So now that you have met all of us, we'd like to get to know who is on this call. So my first question, and again, remember to type it, when you type into the chat, make sure all panelists and attendees can see your answer. My first question, just yes or no, Have you previously attended a SCORE webinar? We got yes, 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 no, yes, no, yes. Okay, look like we have more yeses than no's. So this is not going to be your average SCORE webinar. It's going to need audience participation. Next question. How often do you attend workshops, webinars, watch recordings about marketing? And I'm going to give you 4 choices: daily, weekly, monthly, or a few times a year. Go ahead and type your responses. Daily, weekly, monthly, a few times a year. Okay, we've got a monthly from Jennifer, a few times a year from Gary, weekly from Michael, a few times a year, Renee, bi-weekly as LOL from Craig, few times, bi-weekly to monthly. Okay, so I'll start it off and then I'd like my panelists to chime in. Even though I have been in marketing for over 30 years, I still continually, frequently watch webinars, YouTube, read, because there's always something new. I just learned something new from a webinar that, a YouTube that I watched the other day. How about the other panelists? Would you like to add in there about continuing education?
Sure. I participate in webinars. I am missing the live conferences and live events to attend. So I'm finding that the more that I can do in connecting with people online, either reading newsletters that get sent to me or connecting with groups that talk about marketing online. But definitely the more you sign up for events, the more you'll get reminders of more events. And I'm constantly, signing up for things that I can come back to and revisit and look at for new information.
And Gary, I'd like you to share, because you said something actually in your intro that, you've been in business for a long time. Do you think that once you learn marketing, that's it? Nothing new to learn?
Well, no, I think there's a lot of basics. I think there's a lot of basics in terms of how you approach marketing and what your attitude is and what your goals are. Those things don't change. What has changed over the last 5 or 6 years is the technical part of it. How you promote, how you advertise, what's going on in the internet, all the things that flashed across your video here when we first started, all those names and words that some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. So you're constantly learning. I'm a mentor with SCORE, and I attend webinars probably at least once a week.
Awesome. Jill, would you like to add?
Yes, I'm also in another organization called Buffalo Niagara Sales and Marketing Executives. I'm on the board and on the programming committee. And so we are often doing workshops just like this. And in addition, I laugh at your question because there was a time where I had signed up for so many marketing newsletters that I could spend the whole morning just reading them. And, in my quest to want to be up to date on everything and make sure that I wasn't missing something. And also as a manager of several people on my staff, feeling responsible, for them. So saying, oh, I need to push that over to my digital marketing manager to make sure he knows that the optimization changed again in Google, or, out to my Marcom manager who does our email marketing. So you can get really sucked in with all that. And so my advice really to the business owners is, to figure out where are you at with marketing and where do you want to go? And then just try to find those pieces of information and that wisdom rather than getting bogged down in a lot of excess noise that's really just going to waste your time. And if you are willing to, learn it all on your own, and then great. But many times you're going to need the help, of a professional, and you'll probably end up saving a lot of time and money in the long run because you've been able to offload that to somebody. And then, I've also heard many instances where, and I'm sure, Arba, you can speak to this, and Colleen, where, you would work with somebody and you teach them this is how to do it. And if somebody's willing to take that on, or they're able to hire somebody on their staff to take that on, then it's on that person to stay up to date on the trends.
Mm-hmm. True. Yes. All good advice. So in order to really understand how much that marketing or how much new technology or what may work best for you, I'm going to do a poll. But before the poll, there's a comment from Michael. It says, webinars are learning opportunities first for me, but valuable networking opportunity as well. Yes, this is true. And from the questions that I'm going to ask so that you'll get to know your attendees better, hopefully that will give you some networking opportunities. So on that, I'm going to launch my first poll, and let's see. Okay, so you all should see a poll, and it asks, how long have you been in business? Because this will help us to kind of understand and cater to who we're actually speaking with. Okay, a few more. It looks like everyone hasn't voted yet. Sometimes some people don't have the, depending on how you're logging in, you may not be able to vote. So I'm gonna count down 5, 4, 3. Oh, when I said that, now they're voting. We just got one person who hasn't voted. I love the takeaway. When you take away something, then people scurry to do something. So if you're trying to eat your dinner or whatever, this is not the webinar to do that, because I'm going to keep you active. All right, looks like we got everybody voted, and I'm going to share the results. Okay, can everyone see the results? Because give me a moment. I'm going to do my little screen shares. I'm going to try to, because the polls don't stay up. So I'm going to make sure that I'm copying all of these polls so that we can refer back to them. Okay, and there's the first one. Okay, so we see that the majority of, okay, the poll is off there, right? Okay. So we see that the majority of our group are seasoned in their business, 5 years or more. Jennifer says less than 1 year, it won't let me click the poll. But it looks like you were able to, because I got a 10 out of 10 out of there. Oh, it was slow. Okay. All right. So panelists, this gives us an idea of, we've got a seasoned group here. For the most part, and then we've got a few that are haven't started their business, and a couple that are less than 1 year. Okay, so given that, my next question is, what type of business do you have? I don't want the name of your business, because your name of your business many times may not tell us anything. So tell us what type of business. Is it a product or service? Is it cleaning, consulting, jewelry, whatever it is? Type that into the chat. What type of business do you have? We got a consulting and soft skills training. Craig is service, painting for residential and commercial. Giovanella, please forgive me if I'm saying these names wrong. Consulting. Renee, web design and IT support. Got a pressure washing, broadcasting, manufacturing. See, who was it that mentioned earlier? Somebody said something about networking. This is the networking opportunity here. So for my panelists, you see the responses that we're getting there, so we know what kind of business. Also, something I forgot to say is when we do the polls are anonymous. So as we go along, the reason I want to let you know that the polls are anonymous is because there might be some, questions that I may ask, and you'll be like, oh, I don't want to admit to that, So give me a moment. I'm just making sure I'm doing these screen shares and copying stuff so I can refer back to it. Okay, so that was the first poll. All right. So now we have an idea of what type of business you have. Next question. Do you have a physical location? Type into the chat yes or no if you have a physical location. No, lots of no's. Looks like one yes from Jennifer. Yes. No, I work from home. Jennifer, if you can, not if you can, I know you can, please share with us what type of physical location is it? Is it a retail store? Is it an office? Because I can't remember your business. Because everyone else is no, except Jennifer, who has fitness studio. So Jennifer has a fitness studio and woodworking shop. Okay. So I almost think I can probably answer this next question myself. Do you have employees? Type in yes or no if you have employees. No. There is a yes. We've got one yes, mostly no's. Contractors only. Okay. All right. This question, then we're going to get into letting our panelists, because this is helping is this helping the panelists to understand this is, the crowd we're working with? Okay, the next question. How many have sold over $1,200 last year? $1,200 in a whole year. Yes. I kind of figured that would be, okay, Jennifer, not during the pandemic, but year before, yes. Okay, this is good because for the ones who haven't started their business yet or been in business for less than a year, you've got some seasoned people as attendees because they have been in business for a while and know what it's like to actually make money. And the comment that I want to say, and then I'd like the panelists to chime in, is when I do my marketing webinars, I usually do a raise your hand if you are a nonprofit business. And usually, not too many people raise their hand. And then I say, if you haven't sold anything, then you are a nonprofit business. Okay. So it looks good that we don't have any nonprofits. They've sold something. So let's talk about, I'd like to hear from the panelists, the difference about transitioning from a hobby to a business. What is the difference when you're really looking at the difference between taking something you like and turning it into a business?
I think it goes from a want to a need. When you're doing something on the side or for fun or a hobby, it's something you want to do, you enjoy doing it. When it becomes your full-time business, then it's a need. You need to be more successful. You need to be more focused. You need to do the right things and learn more. So it gets a lot more serious when it becomes your livelihood.
Okay. Anyone else? Colleen?
I think there are a lot of businesses that do start from someone's hobby, from something that they really enjoy doing, that they would like to make an income from and like to make a business out of, and so they start taking their hobby and turning it into the business, and that can work if you have a plan and a business plan for how you want to grow it and how you want to approach that. And then, as Gary said, at some point it's got to make that turning point from that want to need to where you've got to turn a certain profit and make it at your reliable income and a business you can maintain, and having a good business plan to help you kind of see where you can make that transition point and jump from making it a hobby to a business, it can really help guide you in that process.
And Jill?
And I've actually had the experience of doing the opposite. Number one, where I helped my husband start his business as an insurance agent. And so I did the marketing and the public relations and worked there with him for a couple of years, also got licensed, and then went out on my own as a marketing consultant, and realized that I really missed the corporate world, and I really missed the office environment, and it just wasn't a good fit for me because I'm just not disciplined enough. So kudos to everybody out there who's self-employed, because I couldn't make a go of it, and I would prefer to be back in an office in a corporate setting. So I've been fortunate enough to do that now.
But you said something really key, Jill, which is what the different when you were mentioning about before you went back into the corporate world, because I did the same. I was in a corporate world. I had my own totally self-employed, and I got back into the corporate world because the key is what we're talking about tonight is marketing. And a big difference between a hobby and a business is you must market what it is that you're doing. That it becomes a matter of setting goals, and you have to make a plan to achieve those goals. A hobby is just something that you love to do. You'll do it here, you'll do it there, but you may not have really any goals.
Well, you should also be marketing yourself. That is really number one, because people buy from people, and they buy from people that they like.
Yes.
So market yourself first and the business second.
Which gets into a point of what we were talking about earlier, that when I asked the question, how many marketing webinars or videos or any of that you watch, what is very key is building yourself or learning your skills, because many of you answered that you don't have employees. So that means that you are how do they say, the cook, the caker, the candlestick maker? You're all of that, or whatever the term. What you'll find is I never get any cliche. I try to use cliches and I get them wrong all the time. So that's why people laugh. But the bottom line is that when you have your own business, when you are an entrepreneur, as Jill said, you have to, you should constantly be working on yourself. So learning all of those soft skills, because you don't have a sales force. You are your sales force, and people relate to people. Very good.
ARBA, can I add something to that?
Of course.
I think the most valuable marketing lesson I ever learned was a long, long time ago in a seminar that I attended. And the teacher of the seminar said, the most important thing you can learn as a marketer is enthusiasm. And the last four letters of enthusiasm are IASM, which means I am sold myself. You have to believe in your product. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe in yourself. You have to sell yourself. And all the things you mentioned at the beginning about whether people will buy from you, have confidence in you, come back and buy again, whether your business can grow, it's all going to come down to how enthusiastic you are, how much you believe in your product, and how much you believe in the image you are projecting to your buyers and your customers.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I didn't have this as a question, but I'm feeling this question before I get to my next question. Type in the chat if you feel that you like this format. Are you learning anything so far? Is this worth your time? Yes, 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 yes. More yeses. Yes, yes. Excellent. And no more is coming. Yes. All right. So we'll continue with this crazy format. Okay. So we got a lot of yeses. That's good. And nobody dropped off. So, okay. So my next question, do you have a logo? for your business? Yes or no? Type that in the chat. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Again, we have a seasoned group of business owners here. So I quite naturally we get a lot of yeses. But this is where I was, well, I don't say I was, for our panelists, where we're going to start talking about branding, because it could start with your logo. Let's talk a little bit about how a logo is important for your business, or what it portrays for your business, and then also talk about branding and how everything should tie together. Who'd like to start with that? I'm going to start picking.
I will.
Thank you.
I will. So, okay. So the reason why I'm just trying to think, okay, which story do I want to tell? Because right now I manage 6 brands under the Uniland umbrella.
Wow.
And when I got there 7.5 years ago, they said, oh, great news. You're here just in time. We just did a logo refresh and we're about to roll out 6 new brands. And I was like, oh, yay. Like you're a 35-year-old company. What's going on here? And I've also worked in situations where, like I worked for Six Flags, where you're at a local entity for a national brand, and the dynamics, between that. And then recently, we went through a whole exercise to create a new brand for a new service called Hansa, which is a co-working and private office and private suites in downtown Buffalo. And that I did like soup to nuts. And it was crazy because I was doing it with people who aren't marketers. They're like leasing people, or they're developers, and they're like real estate experts. But so it's just very interesting because their input is very valuable, because I look at them as they're the audience. They're my audience though. Like I see it like with the trees, but they're more like they look at the color scheme and they're like, oh, this is what it makes me, think of, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people that, your logo is simply one part of your brand. It's not the brand. The brand is many things. And as we just discussed in the previous question, it really starts with you. If you're the business owner, because you're your brand every day. So you have to represent that, live that. Your brand should tell a story. You should have a really good story about why you do what you do, why people should do business with you, what you stand for, what your business stands for, what can people expect from you and your business. These are all what are called brand attributes. Those are so much more important than like, what's your color scheme, right, what's your PMS number, blah, blah, blah. And, hate to break it to you, but there will probably never be another original logo in the history of the world, because it's impossible to be done, right?
We can't do a different kind of swoosh. You can't.
Literally, somebody showed me their new logo the other day, and I was like, oh my God, that looks like Delaware North's logo. Like, it doesn't matter what you come up with, it's gonna look, and we went through this with Hansa. We must have done like 100 different treatments, and at the end of the day, it's really less important as all that other stuff I just threw at you,
right,
in my opinion.
Right. Anyone else want to add?
Well, I think the greatest marketing organization in the world right now is the National Football League. They have 32 teams, 32 logos, and the minute you see it, you instantly recognize it. I mean, you see a sweatshirt with a Buffalo on it, you know what team that is, and you don't even know if it's football or not. It's the Buffalo Bills. And every single logo of the 32 teams is that clearly identifiable. It's not just initials or letters. It's all big and bold and bright and colorful that people want to keep buying on sweatshirts and shoes and hats, and they just continue to market and continue to grow.
Right. But on that note, though, to have a logo that is recognizable like that, I mean, would be like a great achievement for but the average small business is not going to have a logo that's recognizable because it takes
my logo on a sweatshirt. I'll know I've made it.
No, it's important to have a logo, especially with so many different forms of marketing now, where it's part of setting up your social media profiles and your website and everything else. It says upload your logo here. There's a spot where it's expected to be. But I think what's important to remember is that it doesn't have to be your logo forever, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Jill mentioned going through a logo redesign. I see companies do that all the time, and I was impressed with the responses here. I think we had about 40% of the audiences, a year or less in business. For those of you who are seasoned, I expect, you have a logo, but for the new businesses, a lot of people get stuck on that. They think it has to be perfect. They think they're going to be with that logo for forever. And, one of my clients says there's a difference between done and done enough. And if you're done enough to move to the next step, you can always come back to it. So, congratulations to everybody who's got their logo and you're going forward with it. And, you've got that to help build your identity. But if at some point you look and you say, gee, I really want to tweak this a little, you can do that. You're not married to it forever. Your brand is going to change, your business is going to change, and you can always go back and revisit that, just like any aspect of your marketing plan, and update it as your business updates.
Yeah. And Michael says, I believe a logo is important at the top of sales funnel for new businesses. Less important as you move down the sales funnel. Any thoughts on that comment? I have my thoughts.
I think, marketing's job is to get you those inquiries at the top of the funnel. So marketing's job is to make the company recognizable enough and pique enough interest that person is going to contact us somehow, and then go through the funnel. So absolutely a logo is part of it, but so is how you market the company, and really like that cool slideshow at the beginning. However, you got them to notice you, and you told them somehow that what their problem is, you have a solution for.
Right.
And so the logo is kind of helps draw them into the funnel, in my opinion.
But don't get too caught up, I think everyone agrees, don't get too caught up with trying to come up with the perfect logo or paying thousands of dollars and all of that at the early stage. Just have something that you can have recognizable across all of the different mediums.
Yeah, I have a friend who owns a small business, a retail business, and she sent me pictures, and she's like, what do you think of the new paint job? And I'm like, oh, it looks great. And she's like, the color, didn't you notice? It's a totally different shade of purple. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. So it's like, you guys as the owners, like you know it, but like your customer, and frankly, is that really important? There's so many other important things that you can be spending your time on, like attracting new leads, attracting new customers, converting them into customers. How do you retain them? All those, those four kind of tenets of marketing that ARBA set out at the beginning. Let's focus on those.
Which actually is a good segue into my next question. When I use the term, and I'm sure for this season group, when I talk about demographics, do you know who your target audience is? Who is your best type of customer? Type yes or no if you really know, you've honed in on who your target market is. We've got not as well as I would like. Yes, no, yes, no, yes. Okay, so yes, but can be refined, and a yes. So I think we got some discussion here. as to why it's very important to know that none of us have something for everyone. You know, when you first start business, a lot of times you go, oh, I got something for everyone. But no, you need to have a defined target market. Who'd like to start us off with that and why that's important?
Well, it's the direction of your business. If you don't know what you're aiming at, you can't hit it. Like with any other target game or any other sporting event, if you don't know where you're going, you can't get there. So you can create promotions, you can create designs, you can create logos, you can create all the marketing tools you want. But if it's not appreciated and picked up by your target market, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be, you know, fluttering off into the wind somewhere. So you have to be able to identify your target market.
Right, like spray, just like you said, you want to hit, you want to aim specifically, you just don't want to.
Right. Marketing today is too expensive to lose impact, to spread your message out to people who are never going to respond to your message in the first place. So the closer you can get to your target market, the more refined and the more fundamentally better your advertising will be.
Anyone else want to share?
And there's so many tools, you know, I mean, that's what Google is so great at, is targeting, you know. So when you do your, you know, your paid ads, you know, you can put in all the filters of, you know, demographics, geographics, you know, all of that, and really target it. You know, we have these conversations at Uniland all the time because we have so many different products and services, and there's not a one size fits all way to reach them. Mm-hmm. We have $1 million townhomes being built at Gate Circle, and you know, that's not you know, that's not something that you would put a like a sticky, like Premier does, on the Sunday paper, you know. So we just, you know, spent $3,500 on an ad in Buffalo Spree because, you know, because the demographics match up. So yeah, so, you know, learn Google or hire somebody who knows it. The other thing, as I'm sure those of you who've been in business for a while have realized, that I know my husband has realized, and even at Uniland, you know, we were getting leasing all these, what I thought were all these great leads, because they were just leads. And then finally, like, the leasing director comes to me and he's like, you know, I don't want these like small like yoga studios. Like, I can't do anything with them. Like, we need like those people want like 500 square feet. We need like 5,000 square feet. And I was like, oh God, thank you so much for letting me know. You know, I'll refine, you know, our target. And, you know, one thing that my husband has learned in his insurance agency, and again, I'm sure those of you that have been in business, for, you know, for more than a year, at first you're like, I'll take anybody, because you're like desperate, you know, or you're afraid to fail, or you're just like hopeful that like this is going to lead to, you know, a long standing customer. But his mentor told him, if they're trouble when they're signing up for your service, they're going to continue to be trouble. And you know that adage about you spend 80% of your time on 20% of your business, you know, and it has turned out to be true, you know. So those people that you got to know, like, who you want and who you don't want, because you may get their money up front, but you may regret it later. So if they're giving you a hard time from the beginning, that should be a red flag.
Okay, great. And Colleen, did you want to say anything? Because that I also.
Yeah, because I see some comments coming in about, you know, changing your audience over time, or how do you really know who your audience is? You know, it's not uncommon for it to change over time as you're trying to reach that audience. When you started your business, you came up with a product or service, you had an idea of, deep down, you had an idea of who you were creating it for. You may not know exactly who that person is, but, you know, is it a service or a product for the Buffalo area? Is it, you know, something digital where it's national? Do you have, you know, if you had a profile of the person who you saw needing your business, needing your service or your product, what would that look like? And, you may be right on when you start, and you might start, doing some advertising and finding that you're connecting with that audience. But it also happens that businesses say, hey, I designed this product for, moms who are busy and, running around and going to yoga, and they found out, oh, no, I was off target. It appeals to, college students and teens. I mean, those things happen where a business has a target audience in mind and they find out it appeals to a different audience. I guess what I would say is think about who your audience might be, to have a primary and a secondary, and test your advertising. Put a portion of your budget towards who you think your market is, but also try that sort of second audience and see who it resonates with. And talk to the people who do become your customers, and get feedback from them, get reviews from them, get feedback what it is they like about your product and what it is that resonated with them, that drew them to you. And that'll help you get ideas in terms of who connects with your product, so you can help really focus in a little bit more on the target audience that you're resonating with, because it may be you were spot on with who it was, or it may be that it actually is a little bit of a fit in a different direction.
That's awesome. Everything is like spot on with the questions, the next questions that I have, and then I'm gonna address the questions in the chat, because when I started my business, it was the other way around, and which goes into my next point. Your business should be solving a problem. And once you clearly determine what problem you're solving and who you're solving it for, that defines your target audience. In my case, I was working full time as an engineer for HP. And it was actually my hairstylist when I started my first business. Simply, long story short, she needed some business cards. She was going from hair salon to hair salon, was tired of paying for, this was back in the 90s. First of all, I'm aging myself. So this is before Vistaprint. And this is back when you had to buy business cards, 500 business cards for some just plain flat raised business cards. So anyway, she came to me because she knew that I was in marketing at HP. And she was saying, I need something to get my customers to keep following me from hair salon to hair salon. And I was like, look, all you need is a nice postcard that says, I'm moving locations again. And if you bring in this card, you can get a free deep conditioner, or something like that. And the response was great. So I say that to say that I wasn't trying to start a business. It ended up, she kept referring me to other people because I was filling a need. I found out that there was a need of hairstylists that needed some custom marketing materials, and they needed it quick, and they needed personal service. So I clearly knew who my target market was. My target market defined my business. So that now looking back, I'm now knowing what I just said, I'm going to answer or address some of these questions, and panelists, you can chime in there. And I'm going to, we'll try to open, because this is some great discussion, and I will try to open the mic a little bit later to let you all ask direct questions. So Gia Vanilla, I see that you want to ask a question, and we will open the mics later, so kind of just jot down your question. And let's see. So, and I love this networking. Someone talked about networking. We've got some experienced businesses in here, and some of you all are answering each other's questions. So one of the questions, how do you truly define who it is? So again, with your target market, you should know what problem you're solving. So therefore you'll know who is your target. The question about databases at the library are resources, but how do you really know who wants your product or service? In my opinion, if you're going to start a business, you should already know who wants it. and then what you're doing is trying to find how can you find that target that you've already looked for. Like fishing. Again, I'm going to use analogies, and I'm not a fisherman. But let's say if I wanted to catch a particular type of fish, I know, as much as I know about fishing, you have to have certain type of bait to catch certain fish. So if I go out fishing and I don't have the right bait, if something comes in and I'm like, this is not what I want, I throw it back. Something else, that's not what I want, I throw it back. But if I would have had the right bait to begin with, then I would have caught the right fish. So that's the key. Know who you're looking for instead of trying to figure out who wants it. Let's see what else. Anybody else can chime in? Let's see. Focus groups, we got marketing leads are expensive. Yes, with I can't see the full names anymore, was asking about marketing leads. Yeah, again, yes, it can be expensive. Craig was saying getting marketing and leads, yes, they can be expensive. The reason they can be expensive is if you don't clearly know, or you don't have a clear focus, then yes, you're going to get like an abundance of different people who may not be interested. What I would say to you, Craig, as, let's see, you're a painter, which goes into our next question, our next comment. Not only should you know who your target market is, but you need to know who your competition is. What is it that you do that's unique from your competition? Although you paint homes, it's got to be something, as we talked about earlier. I don't care if all of us have the same product or service. I'm different. How am I different than Jill, than Colleen, than Gary? Because people do business with people. That's what you, at least you have that differentiator. But try to figure out something that differentiates you from the next painter. Anyone else?
And, leads can be expensive, and it's hard to know what the value of your customers are when you're just starting out. But if you can get a sense for what am I willing to pay for a customer, if I spent X amount to get a customer, it's worth this to me. You may find that there are times when you want to pay a little more for a lead. Let's say that if you found that once you get a customer in a new neighborhood, you get referrals and it grows from there in that neighborhood. So maybe it's worth it to you to spend a little bit more to find that first customer in that new neighborhood you want to go into, because you can get other connections and other customers once you go into that neighborhood. You have to kind of get a feel for what do you want to spend, because Google or Facebook or YouTube or anything you want to advertise on, it is costly. But if you have a plan for who you're targeting, there are adjustments you can make to target that specific customer, like we were talking about, of who your target market is, and then know where you want to cut it off. I'm willing to spend up to this amount to see if I can get those initial customers. And if at this point things aren't converting, then I need to kind of shut that campaign down and try a different strategy.
Okay, yeah, great. Anyone else?
I just want to piggyback on Colleen's remarks that it's also, marketing is also about positioning and pricing, and that should be part of your brand. So you have to decide, am I the premier painter and I use the most expensive paints and I come in a suit and you're going to pay the high price, then that's your shtick, and that's how you're going to do your positioning and your pricing. If you're, and that could be a differentiator too, but if you're like, I'm in a subdivision, and quite often, we'll get the pieces of paper in the mailbox or in the newspaper slot where somebody just copied them either at home or at the UPS store, and they're like, hey, I'm a painter, or I get, just today we got one for a cleaning service. And I actually save all those because sometimes if we're in a pinch, maybe we need that. So just something else to remember is what is how are you positioning yourself in the market? Because a lot of people, maybe, middle class people will find services just looking in their local B newspaper. And that's extremely affordable, to have an ad in the B newspaper every week, and you can pick which towns you want and they'll give you a deal, so just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. And there are some questions in the chat that's asking about social media, digital. We are going to get to that. We are definitely going to get to that. But we didn't want to start it out with social media, digital marketing until we laid a good foundation to understand how those can work best for you.
Something real quick to something Jill just said. She had mentioned about what makes your marketplace. It's about what makes you unique also. I mean, as a marketer, I had this image in my head of a painter who shows up at a house in a tuxedo and a top hat and spats, and he's going to paint your house in a tuxedo. Now, he might not do a better job than anybody else, but when he walks out the door, you're going to be calling your neighbors and say, hey, you aren't going to believe what just came to my house.
Right.
That made him unique, and that made him different than everyone else, and it made him stand out above the crowd. What can you do with your business to make it stand out above all your competition?
Yes. And like I said, the most obvious is yourself.
Yes.
That is the most obvious, because everything else, when it's all equal and the same, then the only thing that you can make different is you. And because none of you mentioned that you have a full sales force, then you are your salesperson. And that's the biggest differentiator. Someone will do business with you just because they like you. They like you, they like your presentation, Okay, on that note, so so clearly the two things we talked about is clearly know what is your business solving? What solution is your business solving? And then that is going to help you to define your target market and then know how you differentiate between your competition. So type in the chat if you've heard the term elevator pitch. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No. Yes. Okay, a lot of yeses. Okay. So I just learned this watching the SCORE webinar on Tuesday. Like I said, I'm always learning. I didn't just learn an elevator pitch. Let me clarify that. I had my elevator pitch when I came out the womb, but but I just learned it this way, that and it made it so simple. An elevator pitch has three components. We help X do Y by doing Z. So let me give my example. I help entrepreneurs do their own marketing by doing these webinars. That could be just a simple elevator pitch just to say that. So my target audience is entrepreneurs, and I help them to do their own marketing by doing what? By offering webinars and training and workshops. Okay. Would any of my panelists like to share their elevator pitch?
Sure.
Colleen.
So I help businesses to build relationships and grow their business. And we do that through using email to send the right message to the right person at the right time.
Awesome. Jill?
We help businesses find the perfect location to operate their business, and then we offer them all of the in-house services to help that business succeed.
All right. Gary?
Uh, well, I can tell you a real quick story about elevator pitches. As an author, you have to sell your book. And since we talked a little bit about target market, you really never know who your book's going to appeal to. You can think, in my case, I think mostly women read my book. I think probably a little older in age, maybe 35, 40 to 50, somewhere in that range. But you never really know. And you're not pitching yourself in that case, you're pitching your book. Once you have credibility as an author and people like your previous books, you can pitch your audience. But as an author, I had to attend what was called a pitch slam when I was trying to get my book marketed. I had an hour and I was in a room. I spent $100 to be there. The room was surrounded by literary agents, and you had an hour to pitch your elevator pitch, 45 seconds, to as many agents as you could, and they
Wow.
either liked it or they didn't. So you were really on guard for that whole thing, and it was nerve wracking. I ended up making 6 solid pitches, and 6 people were interested. But you just got to plan, and you got to be ready for it. My elevator pitch changes with every book, but as myself, I'm an author of good books, and I try to entertain.
There you go. All right. Since we have seasoned attendees, I would like a brave attendee. Raise your hand if you would like to share your elevator pitch. Oh, okay, Gary. Gary was first. Okay. I'm going to allow you to speak, Gary. You can unmute yourself. Tell us your elevator pitch.
Okay, so I help businesses to be more profitable and productive by providing human resource consulting and soft skill training for their employees.
Thumbs up, panelists. All right. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
And then we have, let's see, I'm gonna put you back. And then August. Okay.
Hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right. This might be more of a sales pitch, but this is to my customers. I'll tell them that, after your house is power washed, your property's clean, your drinks will taste better and your food will also taste better because you're not looking at something where that dirt is entering through your eyes and going into your brain and affecting how your food and drink, hits your palate. So it's in a fewer amount of words, but that's more of probably a sales pitch, right? You're talking about marketing to what? Am I incorrect?
Well, I love the fact that you answered your own question.
I'm a teacher too. This is my side business. Pressure washing is my side business.
Okay.
But yeah.
Panelists, you want to kind of give feedback on that? Well, first of all,
Yeah.
it didn't sound like an elevator pitch.
Okay.
And I think you kind of figured that out yourself.
Okay.
So hone in on you help who? Who's your target market? Do what by you doing what?
Okay.
That's as simple as that. Because sometimes you just don't have enough time to get that whole and you don't want to come across. The thing about a good elevator pitch is you don't want to come across like you're trying to sell somebody something.
Okay.
You're just saying, like in my case, I help entrepreneurs do their own marketing by offering webinars.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Let me.
Can I just offer a bit
Yes.
of advice? August, I love that you're trying to come up with a way to make it like literal for them, come
Yeah.
up with an example, like your water will taste better and your food will taste better. But I think that's actually a negative. And so I would try to stay away from
Okay.
that.
That's what my
And
wife
maybe-
said.
What?
That's kind of what my wife said. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because it's almost like, wait a minute. I thought you were power washing my house. Like, what do you have to do with my water supply and my food?
Okay.
So focusing on how sparkly clean your house is going to be, it's going to look just like new,
Yeah.
and I know you said in the chat that, you take the time, I'm assuming you take the time before to
Yeah.
you walk around with them, you go over everything, you kind of talk about, wow, yeah, that's really bad. It's, I'm going to take care of that for you, yada, yada. And then at the end, you walk them around again,
Yeah.
make sure they're satisfied. Sometimes, people miss a section. Oh, no problem. I'll take care of that for you right away. Da, da, da. So I would say, yeah, work on the elevator pitch and just make it very simple about, I do this for people so that they can, enjoy living in a sparkling, clean, out. So the outside of their home looks like brand new or something.
Okay.
Well, I like that. And I think the problem, August, is your pitch was to something that was important to you, but you've got to make a pitch what's important to your customer. And very simple. What if I help you raise the value of your home? Very simple, very direct. Who doesn't want to have a house raised in value? So a very simple thing without getting into specifics is I helped you raise value of your home. You can enjoy it more.
Okay. Okay.
I was guessing where you were going to go as you were sharing it with us. And I thought for sure you were going to say you can sit back and enjoy your drinks and food because your work is done and all your neighbors are out there working on their houses.
Okay. Okay.
But that's great, August. Thank you for being brave.
Hey, that's me. Thank you for your advice. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Let's see now. Okay. You know what time it is? It is time for another poll. And this is, people are nipping at us about wanting to get into digital marketing and all that stuff. But before we start flooding you with all of it, we need to know where you stand. So let me get my polls ready. Okay, this is the next poll. And I'm going to read it again because this is being recorded. So the marketing tools survey. I use these marketing tools. This is multiple choice. You can choose more than one. I'm not seeing anybody. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the survey is, I have a website. I have an online store. I have claimed my Google My Business listing. I use email marketing. I use a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager. I have a Facebook or Instagram page. I have run Google, Facebook, or Instagram paid ads. Okay. I am waiting. I will give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Somebody may have, I see there's one person that didn't vote. They may have walked away or thought I wasn't going to put up a poll, but either way, I shall end the poll. And I'm going to share the results. And I'm going to screenshot this because this is what is going to give us something to talk about. While I am screenshotting this, the panelists can take a look at this because the rest of our session, that is what we are going to do. We're going to respond based on where everyone is at with their poll too. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. And okay, so I've stopped sharing there. Now, if I share my screen, does that, let's see, wait a second. If I share my screen, I'm hoping that doesn't lose everybody's. So can one of the attendees tell me, can you still see us as well as my shared screen? Let me know, can you see? Oh, only see me. That's not good. Okay, I don't want you to only say May. Let me see if I can change this. Oh, no, I can't do that. We can see anyone. Oh, you can see people as they speak, as well as my screen. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so it'll depend on who's speaking. Okay, just can the panelists also see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, so let's look at oh, Colleen popped. That's okay, whoever pops up, as long as whenever somebody speaks. I just want you to be able to see who's ever speaking and the screen. Okay, so it looks like pretty much everybody, and that's probably not surprising, that the majority of our attendees have a website. And okay, a couple of them have an online store. A few know what Google My Business. Only one uses email marketing, probably the same person that has the CRM. And we've got some social media people here too. Okay. So looks like maybe only a few of you don't know what Google My Business listing. I just want to start with that one because that's the simplest. Just go on Google, look for your, type in your business name, and you want to make sure, even if you don't have a physical location. I know that we talked about there's only one person who had a physical location. You can still claim your Google My Business listing if you don't have a physical location. And I'm pretty sure, Ted, you can chime in if you remember, but I know that we have workshops with Google, Google workshops and or webinars. And if not, you could just Google my listing. Sound like a baby. Google. But definitely you want to do that. You want to. So Ted, I saw you unmuted. Do we have a Google webinar coming up?
Yes, on the 24th of February, we have one. We've got another one on March 16th, and we will have 3 others. Let's see, 2 in April and 1 in May. So we're heavily connected with Google, and I would encourage everybody to keep a sharp lookout for those upcoming webinars on the buffaloniagara.score.org website.
Awesome plug. Okay, so that handles that one. For the few that have an online store, can you put in the chat what are you selling on I'm curious, what are you selling on the online store? Home decor. I'm glad you corrected your spelling there, Jennifer. I'm sorry. Okay, so home decor. And anyone else want to share? Okay. So that could be pretty interesting, selling. So Jennifer, tell us again in the chat, what type of business do you have? While we wait on that. Well, while we're waiting on her to tell us what kind of business that she has, an online store, I want to clear the myth or the mentality that you have to have products. You do not. You do not have to have products to have an online store. Any of you that are in the service business, you can sell services online. What you can do is, especially consulting, because I think there was someone there that I remember someone earlier, consulting. You can sell your consulting in hour increments, half hour increments, whatever they are. And I know that there may be different varieties, but you can do a simple, very defined type of service. Anyone else want to share with service related businesses that you can sell online? I know I sell my website services. So try to look for, my key is, with your business, if you don't have an actual widget, product, something, whatever, try to figure out gift certificates. Try to sell gift certificates online. Sell an amount of your service that they could use. It doesn't necessarily have to be a gift certificate, but say for instance, whatever your service is, maybe you're painting, that if you ask for a deposit, you know, maybe say they could what do you call it? Book their deposit, reserve their service with a deposit. Anyone else? My panelists? No. Well,
yeah, I mean, you can certainly sell things that are service related. I mean, a perfect example was I was talking to someone with a hair salon the other day, and they're not doing hair services online, but they're actually booking appointments online, and they're taking a credit card just to hold your spot.
Right.
So they're not actually, you know, selling their hair products online, but they do use an online store just to ensure that someone's going to show up for their appointment. You can also do something that's not transactional, but that's one step short of that, and you can have what's called a lead magnet, where you are just collecting people's information to download something that's free. You know, that's not truly into e-commerce, but you're collecting leads and you're collecting information from people that you're going to market to by giving them a chance to click on something on your website, fill in their contact information, and receive something from you.
Yes, awesome. And I know
and that works really well if you know, to differentiate yourself and educate your customers about something. So for instance, let's just use, you know, Craig with painting, you know, and maybe, you know, you write, you know, a blog about, and a blog doesn't have to be, you know, big deal, about, you know, how, you know, what's the real difference between, you know, eggshell and latex and whatever, or when's the best time to paint the exterior of your home, or the whatever it may be. But like Colleen said, you can have, you know, a contact form where they sign up, and that's, if you're going to collect that information, then then they're opting in. So you have to really be committed to, like, know that you're going to use that, so that, in the best way to use that, you know, obviously is like to communicate with them by email. And, you know, then that's going to take you, like, setting up some sort of email service and, you know, content for an email, which obviously Colleen's an expert in. But kind of dialing all that back, another thing with, like, selling something on a site that's not really selling is, you know, just a spot to, like, book a free consultation with you. You know, there's plenty of automatic schedulers that can just be plugged into a website, and you can kind of, you know, block out when you're not available. And so people can go right on there and book an appointment with you to have you come out and look at their home, you know, to provide the service.
Awesome.
You know,
awesome.
Or click a button to get a free estimate or whatever, you know.
And something I want to stress, I always stress this in my website workshops, because the majority of you have websites. And I think Colleen mentioned it too, but I just want to reiterate, a contact form is a must, a must, a must. And when I say a contact form, don't do the simple contact form that number one, that just says contact me, or to contact me, and then all they do is enter their name, email, phone number. No. The purpose of a contact form is that is your first way to qualify or target that person. So ask some more information. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be a required field, because somebody may not want to give you that, but you'll be surprised. I have a contact form on one of my sites that it is like this long. And I'm asking all of this, how much do you already know about digital marketing? Are you how long all of this stuff? And they supply all of that. So imagine if number one, when you have a contact form, give an incentive for them to even complete it. So when I say an incentive, I don't mean to say give them a discount, give them a prize, you got a car, not like that. But an incentive will be that, or an incentive or a urgency, a sense of urgency or something. My time fills up quickly. Please submit if you're interested in a follow-up call or for me to call you, and then start specifically saying, what are you interested in? For instance, our painter, are you interested in a full or pressure washing? I might've been, whatever it is, start putting like, what are you interested in? What are your needs? What are your immediate, is this immediate? Is this within the next week, the next 6 months? Try to gather as much information as you can from that contact form. Okay, which leads me into Colleen. I really want you to talk, because this is where I see there's a lot of opportunity when I look at this poll, how few people use email marketing. I'd like for you to share how important that can be for marketing.
Yeah, email marketing, when you look at staying in touch with people who are interested in your business or people who are your customers, it's an ideal way to stay in touch with people and stay top of mind with them and tell them about your products and services. Year after year, it's proven to be actually the best return on your investment for any digital spend. People have already given you permission to be in touch with them. Whereas on other digital channels, you're trying to find people who maybe don't know about you. These are people who've asked to hear from you and they want to be in touch with you. So, email can be from very simple to very complex. I work with some really complex, in-depth programs with big companies, but you may just be collecting leads like we talked about on your website. And in that case, you want to stay in touch with people. You want to have something to say to them so that you're staying top of mind with them. And when you have a list, even if you start small, make sure that you're just sharing something out with them. So I would say every 3 weeks at a minimum, getting something out. It doesn't have to be a big endeavor when you're just getting started as a business, but you need to just get that platform started and start building your list, and then you can start getting a little more of a larger program. But so many businesses I talk to are they put it off because they say, I don't have a list. And a couple years down the line, I'll say, where are you at? They're like, well, I still don't have a list, so I haven't started it. But I heard it's a really great return on my investment, so I keep needing to do it. So I would say to anybody, get started with it. Start collecting that, whether you collect it, like ARBA said, on a form on your website, or, if you have that storefront and you're just getting people's names, or you're getting people's names of your customers, start building that list so that you can make it part of your business plan and make it a goal for you to do that with your customers and your prospects this year.
Yeah. And I bet you the same person who said that they use email marketing is the same one that said they use a customer relationship manager, because they go hand in hand. That a good email marketing service or account will also be a great customer relationship manager, because you'll have all of your customer information in one place. A good starter. Now we know that there's stuff like Salesforce and whatever that's much better, but that's a good starter for a beginning business. I have a personal testimony about how the importance of having your email contacts and having your email database. That, like I said, I started my first really self-employed business over 30 years ago. And I had an email list back when I was in Atlanta. And I used to do a lot of face-to-face workshops. And there was a person who had contacted me, one of my associates or whatever, a good word. I thought he was going to join tonight, but who had contacted me from a workshop that I had done years ago. And he wanted, now that we're virtual, he said, we can do this workshop together virtually. And so I pulled out my old email list and I said, well, you know, they haven't heard from me forever. And this is when I was in Atlanta. So I sent out an email blast, and lo and behold, I mean, when I started looking at the attendees, I was like, oh my God, so-and-so, oh my God, you know, because they, I kept their emails and they followed me. They knew how crazy my webinars are. So they wanted to see if I'm just as crazy 30 years later. But on a serious note, you do want to gather and have those emails. Let's see. Let's next the Instagram, or yeah, Facebook and Instagram page. Now let's talk. There's a difference between just having a Facebook or Instagram page, a personal Facebook or Instagram page. You want to make sure that it's a business Facebook or Instagram page, because this gets into, when we talked about target markets, social media is the best way to truly define your demographics, because that information is in there. Totally different than a yellow page. You take out an ad in a yellow page, and I'm aging myself again, in a yellow page ad, or you put an ad in some circular, you don't know who has read it, who's following it, who shared it. You know, you have no data. But with social media, you have that data, you have that demographics. You can start to understand who is most interested in your product or service. And we have a few who have some experience with Google, Facebook, and Instagram. Any panelists want to share on that? Any thoughts about?
I think, you know, social media is, you know, going to continue to grow and continue to be a place where you can have a business presence. For a lot of new businesses, it can be very overwhelming to see, you know, there's so many different social media platforms out there, and where do I start? And it can take a lot of time to be doing all this posting. I would say start with one, and then go to another, but start building up your profile, and just make sure that it's something that you're committing some time to. You know, you're posting a couple of things a week and getting back to people who comment on it and build from there. You don't have to be on every social media channel from day one. Pick one that you think your customers are most likely to be on, and say, okay, I'm going to commit to posting every week, and I'm going to commit to answering people who comment back from me, and just build from there and make it gradual, but get your feet in the water and find the platform that you think that your audience is most likely to be on, and start spending some time there. And it is really important too that you are paying attention to who's commenting and getting back to them, because it is sort of an instant gratification world where if someone's commenting, they're going to expect that you're going to get back to them, you know, today, not 2 weeks from now.
Jill, did you want to share?
And if you don't use one of the platforms as either personally or professionally, you know, read up on it a little bit first, you know, learn kind of the tricks and whatnot. And I think it's always good to have a strategy, which really is a fancy way of saying, okay, why am I doing this? You know, Is it because you might say, well, duh, it's Jill, it's because I want to, get leads, but really it's to me, I treat it as like a branding exercise. You want to grow awareness about your business and about you. But it's just a great free way to get the word out about you, your business, what you do. But like Colleen said, try to do a couple posts a week. If you are at the point where, there's there's several services out there, like Hootsuite, where you can plan out a calendar and they'll, do it for you. You can say, okay, Thursday at 4, I'm going to post this. But I definitely would suggest getting like a calendar out and, typing a few ideas of things that you want people to know. Your first post can be like, hi, it's Dave. I'm so excited to be on this platform and tell you why I'm, the best painter for your needs or whatever. But definitely write down, like brainstorm off of somebody else of like, what would you find interesting to read or see a picture of that would tell a story about my business, and write all those down, because those are going to become like your post ideas. And so that you're not like all of a sudden a whole week has gone by and you haven't posted anything. Another easy like post idea is, we always look, I forget what it's called, but it's like nationalday.com or something. And so you guys will see this all the time on social media. Like apparently I missed it, but it was like National Pizza Day the other day. So if you have a business that corresponds with any of those national days, you definitely want to post about it and talk about it and, customize it to you, and again, kind of sneak in that messaging of, why you're, the right person or whatever for them to get that product or service from. Definitely get back to people. Make sure your correct hours are on there. Just be consistent. And you'll see there's that invite feature. I do this like every so often for Uniland. Like I'll just be like sitting on the couch, and this happened the other day. I'm like, oh, that was a really good post that we did. It was about, we hired a new person and we promoted 2 people. And I was like, oh, that's a really good post. You know what? I'm going to like invite more people to like our page. And I was like, holy cow. Like, I was like, there's all these people I know that don't like our page yet. So, I found like maybe 20 new people to invite to like the page. So you can fit it into your lifestyle, when like you're just sitting on the couch or, whatever.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I do want to, I should have prefaced it or said, this is not, we could do a social media roundtable that could go for 2 hours just by itself. And as I stated at the beginning, there are so many webinars, things you can read, YouTube videos and all of that. So we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of social media, but what I wanted to do was to, sometimes you ever have somebody ask you a question and then it triggers you to say, oh my God, I need to do that. That's really what I want to do, is I want to trigger some thought as to, are these some things that you're doing because they're key for marketing, but we're not going to be able to talk about the nitty gritties. So that's why I'm glad that the panelists are sharing some little tidbits. Okay. On that note, I'm going to do my last poll, because we're not going to have time to do the others. This is great. I'm so glad that we are getting the results and the sharing. Okay, so I'm going to skip over one of these polls. This is something that is very important, and I talked about it earlier. How do you stay top of mind with customers? And this is multiple choice. I offer memberships or subscriptions. I frequently offer promotions. I offer events, even if they are virtual. I offer promotional products like pens, mugs, etc. I frequently write blogs. I am active on social media. I use email marketing. I solicit testimonials. I respond to reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp, etc. So this is a good kind of thing to really ask yourself how these are ways we talked about earlier as everybody's filling this out. At the beginning, I said there should be 4 key marketing objectives. Number 1, you want to obtain new or more customers. Did I say number 1? I'm getting tired. Number one, obtain new or more customers. Number 2, get your customers to buy more frequently. Number 3, get your customers to spend more per transaction. And number 4, keep your customers longer. So this list are ways to meet those objectives. Looks like I've only gotten a few responses. Only half of you have responded. Maybe that's what we're finding out. Some of you aren't doing any of these things. That's where the opportunity lies. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna end it and share the results. Can everybody see these results? That means a lot of us have room for growth in our marketing, because this is all a part of marketing. And I am screen sharing. Uh-oh. Well, while I'm still sharing that, I am trying to screen share this. And what I'm gonna do after I screen share this, here we go, to be able to put this back up. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna close that out. And okay, so we only have a few minutes left, about 15 minutes left. What I'd like to do in these last 15 minutes is open it up for questions. And all you'd have to do is raise your hand and I will open your mic and you can ask us some last minute questions. Okay, I see. Oh, did I hit it twice? There you go.
Hello.
Okay. And pronounce your name for me, please.
Hi, it's Giovanella.
Giovanella. All
Yes.
right.
So I've been doing a lot of research. Gary's been a great big help. I'm just like twiddling my thumbs because I want the best of the best. And I think I'm overthinking certain situations here, but what would want somebody to go to your page for social media? I just started up a Facebook page, nothing on it yet, but I'm thinking of activities, games, promotions, birthday month, just different activities. But is there something that's really eye-catching out in the market right now that would want someone to say, hey, what's she doing with her business today? Or, doing a bingo activity? Like, how do you keep people wanting to go to your page? Like, I'm the type of person, and I don't really like admitting this, but I skip through those advertisements on YouTube. After the 5 seconds, I'm clicking skip ad, but here I am trying to create my own YouTube ad. And now I'm on the other end of the loophole there. So I'm like, what do you do? Any suggestions?
So, part of what you can do is try a couple of things that you think might work, and then look at what your results are. If you see that people are, can you hear me okay? if you see that people are responding to something, then do a little bit more of that. Most social media channels are designed so that when they see somebody engaging with something, they're going to show them more and more of that. So if you have people that are responding to, particular marketing and content that you're putting out there, it's going to show that same group of people those same things more often. So you got to try to test a couple of different things, a couple of different types of content, and
Okay.
see, and you can watch the numbers and see what you tend to get response to.
Okay. Is there a way to keep updated of what's happening, like the latest and greatest? Like, I think you all targeted that at the beginning when you guys discussed your experiences, right? And, some of you have a lot of experience, some of you, are switching and whatnot, but is there a way to keep up with what's happening in the marketing world, to keep up with the new trends?
There's
I
a
think
lot
what's-
of, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think what's most important now, here's the irony, is that I've been in the digital marketing space, as they call it, for the last 20 years. When I started in 30 years ago, I was just doing print. And then I got into the digital space the last 20 years. I personally don't use social media. I personally don't use it because I know I don't have time to effectively, and I think Jill was talking about that earlier. I don't have time to effectively, as a single person, and not single, I'm married, have a lovely husband, but he's listening in the next room. That's why I have to clarify that. But as a individual entrepreneur, I don't have time to effectively do social media. So I don't choose that as one of the ponds that I fish in. I do a lot more, as you could probably tell, I do with email marketing and personal relations. So to answer your question, first, make sure that that is really the market that you want to go after, because in order to attract, you need to be in it too. Like you said, you kind of go past stuff, or you don't look at it. Well, you have to. So to really learn about it, to really learn about a market platform that you're trying to capture people on, then you have to be active on it. I will tell you that the millennials, because I do all kind of webinars and all kinds of groups, those millennials, they live on it. They live on social media. They have never even heard. They don't even have a business card. When you ask them for a business card, they're like, put it in my phone. Give me your number. Everything, is totally different. Yeah. So, that's what you have to really decide. Is that what you're going to? If that's the space you're going to play in, then you got to play on that, on their terms.
Got it. Thank you.
The other thing, Nella, is if you're not going to pay right off the bat for Facebook advertising. You want to be more of a grassroots operation. So you want to create a page and have your friends and people that you know on Facebook like your page, and try and get word out and try and get them to share things that you post and spread out your base of people that you know, to get the word out that way. It's not a matter of buying ads and promoting what you're selling. It's a matter of building a network of people who are going to know people who are going to need your service.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Say, ARBA.
Yes.
This is Ted. Listen, I just wanted to let you know that Renee had a question here that I'm not sure that we really responded to, and I think that this may be a good time to mention it. Renee said, after being in business for 20 years, how do you change up? How does one change up marketing for that business? It needs something fresh.
Well, all I was going to say, without knowing her business, if you could put in there more, what kind of business is it? It'll help our panelists to answer it. So if she could type that in there. Web design. Tag on it. Okay. Renee, if you don't mind, I'm going to unmute you because I want to hear more about, because in my opinion with web design, I had to. I mean, I had to change over the years because platforms were changing. Let's see, different. I mean, I had to survive in the web design business. You know, we're not coding anymore. You got this platform, that platform. So Renee, go ahead and tell us a little more about your question.
Well, my business is basically at two sides. I do web design / marketing. So I'll do logo design and print marketing material. And the other side of the business is IT support services for small companies. So it's hard to come up with a marketing ideas that encompasses all of that. So sometimes I just go, one silo or the other and market for one or the other. But a lot of my clients, they use all my services. So it's kind of an unusual business. So at times I really struggle with how to present that to somebody. So I will say, like, all my IT clients, I do web design for and I do marketing for. So it goes hand in hand, but it's an unusual combination. And like I said, I've been doing it for 20 years. So, Buffalo's a small town. So everybody's seen it and done it. And I'm like, all right, I need something new, something that's going to catch people's eye again.
If I understand your question correctly, how many websites do you have? Not that you've done for your clients, but how many websites do you have?
One.
There's your problem. I got about 7.
Okay.
Okay. That's what you have to do, because and the beauty of it is you are a web designer. So as a web designer, you want to have, and actually I'm going to share, I'm going to go back to this in a second, landing page. I want to talk a little bit about a landing page because Renee, I'm sure you know what it is, but other people may not know what it is. A landing page is a very targeted, specific page from whatever marketing campaign that you do. So if you do something where you are specifically promoting a certain service, a certain product, and it says click here for more information, when someone clicks there, that landing page should be specific for whatever that product or service is. Never send someone to your homepage, because if they are clicking from an advertisement or a campaign, they want more information about what it is that you tickled their fancy with. So Renee, as a web designer, the world is bigger. You can do bigger than a landing page. That's why I have 10 pages. I have 10 website pages. So if I'm talking to somebody about email marketing and I really feel like that's what they could use, then go to my email marketing website. It's not more than a page. So don't try to put everything on one website. You can have several websites, but then like what I have on mine, at the bottom of mine, I've got it links to all of my different websites, but have a website target. Again, your website should target specifically for whatever demographic you're trying to reach.
Okay.
Time to expand.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else have a question?
I was just going to ask Renee, what kind of IT support services exactly?
Anything from running cables to doing putting Wi-Fi in, fixing computers, servers, networking. But I stick to small to medium-sized businesses because we're a small company. But pretty much anything in the IT except for phone systems.
Okay. And do you do a blog currently or have any content marketing program?
I blog occasionally. It comes down to the time. When you're a small business, you wear many hats, and my marketing side kind of falls by the wayside when I'm working on everybody else's stuff.
Right. When you said, what can I do to kind of, refresh or switch things up? I mean, I think just being timely with the changes that are going on, right? So, if somebody, if I was a small business owner, I wouldn't know the first thing about infrastructure for my IT system. So, I would want to, I would Google it, and I would want to see somebody that through their ads or through the blog that they know what they're doing and they're talking in like current lingo. I know like risk management is such a huge thing right now. And I have a friend who runs a risk management company, and he's, just going bonkers and gangbusters with security, building security. And, anytime there's anything, God forbid, a school shooting or a workplace, workplace violence, or, even after the Capitol, like he, pardon the pun, but like he kind of capitalizes on that. So, it's just another idea I had, just to make sure that you're staying on top of like what's going on in your industry, and that you're conveying to people that you are the expert, and that you'll take that worry off their shoulders. So even if you are using, like, if there's a local example of something that happened negatively to somebody, how you could have prevented that for them. So that was just another thought about using blogging or content marketing, or really any way to communicate that to prospects.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we are down to our last few minutes. And what I want to do is, like I said, I'm always watching webinars myself. I'm looking at YouTube. And I personally have, I just started working with a mentor that is helping me, because I'm talk about rebranding. I'm like really, I want to, I'm not going to tell you what I'm trying to do. But anyway, in listening to one of his marketing, I want to tell you, this is something funny. I loved it when I listened to this on one of his recordings. This is a definition of marketing. Imagine a circus coming to town, and you put up a big billboard that says circus is coming to town. That's called advertising. If you make a smaller version of that billboard and put it on the side of an elephant and march that elephant through town, that's called promotion. Now, if that elephant, in the process of marching through town, runs through the mayor's flower bed and destroys it, that's called publicity. Now, if you get the mayor to laugh and just chuckle about it, that's called public relations. Now, if you plan the entire thing, that's called marketing. So, I just wanted to end with that, because it's marketing consists of a whole lot of things. But the objective, again, is what can you do to make your business stand out, and to stand out from the competition and get more customers. Any last thoughts that anyone else, the panelists, like to add before we wrap up? Gary, you got that look. I know you got a good story or something to.
No, I just wondered what happened if the elephant messed up your front yard, but what they call that. I just think is marketing is about sales. Marketing is about selling yourself. If you're all low keyed like ARBA is, she is a shining example of enthusiasm. She could have picked any background in the world, and she picks bright red curtains. It's something you're going to remember and talk about. Marketing is all about selling yourself and getting people to talk about you in a positive way.
Thank you, Gary. Colleen, last thoughts?
I can't follow Gary after that.
That's your last thought. Okay. Jill?
You know, wish everybody the best with your business. And I hope you got some good ideas out of it. And if you have follow-up, you know, topics you want to go more in depth, and don't forget the SCORE website has a lot of great webinars and resources. You can always go on there and search by topic for more information.
That's a good plug. That's a good one.
And if you want to work with a mentor from SCORE, don't forget to go to the website and look about hooking up with a mentor or someone who can guide you through a lot of the questions that you had tonight.
Right.
That's highly useful, and I wouldn't forget about the services that SCORE offers in that area.
Very good. And Jill?
Yeah, being a business owner, a small business owner, you know, I don't think there's anything, I don't know why we even call it a small business. Any business is, you have the same responsibilities of running the business. So I think marketing can be very overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me, and I do it for a living. You know, I can imagine, you know, what it's like for you. So my takeaway for you is to maybe focus on creating a list of priorities. Don't try to do everything. Work with your mentor on what you should do first. You know, come up with a list of maybe a top 3, and you know, really dedicate some time or have somebody help you with learning how to do whatever you feel that first priority is that you should do, you know, either as kind of a basic thing. Like if you don't have a Google business, that's a basic thing. You got to get that done. You know, everybody should have a website. Even if you're not selling anything, you have to have a website. You know, people, they say that people will go through 7 steps of learning about a business before they ever take action to get in contact with you. So it could be they're driving by, they're Googling you, they're looking at your website, they're reading your reviews, they're asking friends. So think about that. You have 7 ways really to make a first impression before they even contact you. So that's my advice, just to try to pick a top 3 of marketing initiatives and work through those.
And an overall comment, whatever you're doing, whatever you want to do, never give up. You never know when your next promotion, your next post, your next customer is going to turn your entire business around. There are tons of stories of people who have quit one day too soon. Never give up. Keep going. It'll come to you.
And my comment is be your genuine self. You will attract who you attract and detract who you don't. If I couldn't be myself, I wouldn't have fun. Be yourself. All right, Ted.
Yes, there's certainly something to say about having fun. So, and thank you for a really fun evening tonight. ARBA, thank you so much for being moderator tonight. Jill, for joining in and being a part of the panel. Also, Colleen, part of the panel, thank you so much. And Gary, for all of your remarks, especially the one about the backdrop, ARBA's backdrop. And I'm going to be researching how I can improve my backdrop after this session. Just for all of our attendees, again, I will be sending out a copy of the recording, a link, Zoom link to the recording of this session. So you can refer back to some of the comments here. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Remember the buffaloniagara.score.org website for all kinds of resources, including further webinars. I wish everybody a healthy future, both for your business and personally, and have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.
Good night.